In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get set again.
Game on, where progressives fear us and rhinos tremble. Welcome to the political jungle. I'm JD.
This is Stacy. No one is safe. No one is fair.
Lock up the children.
And the old folk.
Welcome to the world of libertative conservatarians.
Waddle-doodle-in, who's been doing bong hits with Ben Carson? Lordy Jesus. Donald Trump is now the creepy guy from Lost in Space. Yes, yes, Will Robinson danger with a little pedophile behind the rock. Woo! Welcome, baby. Thursday night, January 14th, 2016, 11:46 Eastern Standard Time. We got J.D. Stacy, that Ricky Ticky Tavi Rick Robinson, Daniel Stafford of the Stafford Voice here on that K98 Talk for your post-debate wrap-up, baby. Your wrap-up with the crap-up. We've had the cocaine in the green room. We got the tequila, the bourbon going. You know what I'm saying? Micey here. Game on. Special post-debate wrap-up style here on K98 Talk. Welcome back to all our political freaks, geeks, and back alley sneaks. Everybody within the sound of my voice, you know what to do right now. Get in that chat room. Say hello to the craziest, nakedest, staying up late and wanting to hear what the hell's going on. Radio audience in the business. Welcome, bachelors and bachelorettes. Why doesn't the panel introduce themselves and tell the nice people when you can be found here in that K98 Talk?
Hi, it's Stacy.
Bachelorette number one.
I can be found Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays with JD.
What about Friday, baby?
Oh, well, Fridays on WNJC.
That's what I'm saying. Ricky Ticky Tavi Rick Robinson.
I am the host of America Off the Rails here every weeknight, Monday through Friday, unless, of course, we have something special like we've had for a couple of nights this week, and also every Thursday on WNJC and elsewhere across the internet and other small terrestrial markets, so feel free to look me up.
Daniel Heads in the Freezer Radio. Stafford, baby.
That's right. This is Daniel Stafford, host of the Stafford Voice, every Mondays and Thursdays, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern.
And tonight, baby, we're going to be breaking down the levees of your mind. Remember, guys, guys. We're not just hearing that K98 talk. After the show, kids, not during it. You get over to Spreaker.com. You find all the hosts here, what we've been doing with that Ricky Diggy Tommy, Rick Robinson, that K98 talk. Screw Michael Loftus tonight. We love him, but it ain't about him. It's about us, baby. We're going to have some fun. Ooh, welcome, guys. That wasn't a bad intro, huh?
Not at all.
That was actually a pretty
peppy,
awesome
actually,
intro.
for 11:45 at night.
Oh, well, that's what happens, baby. That's when the marijuana goes to the cocaine and the show gets a lot more interesting.
Oh, dear.
I got the bathrobe and the 357 in the pocket shooting at shadows.
Wow. Yep, I'm stuck with it all the time.
K98 Talk Studio will be like, hey, where are the white women at?
Oh, my God.
So that was, okay. Let me ask a quick question before we go into everything that happened this evening in the Republican debate. Can somebody explain to me how this stretched out into an NBA game and went 2:30? I know there were less people on the stage. I didn't feel it go 2 hours and 30 minutes, but I looked around, baby, and I'm like, what? What? It's 11:30, huh?
Yeah, it seemed like the gentleman this evening had a lot to say. And it seems like maybe, given the time limits for answering questions, that Neil had a little more, maybe just a lot more questions than he actually had time for.
I will tell you what, though, that Maria Bartiromo, that my money, honey, baby. Ooh.
She's the only reason you watched.
She's the only reason I started working on Wall Street.
Oh, I'm silly. Silly me. Silly me.
So, all right.
And we're 3 minutes in, and that was our first inappropriate bill, folks. There'll be more to come.
The later the hour, the more bells we have, Rick. You know this.
I actually, for everything that we're going to go into and break down and take this apart and dissect, I actually thought overall that this actually was a pretty good debate. Yes, I thought there were moments that, they all should have been lined up against the wall and shot North Korean style for some of the nonsense that was going on. But my take on it, that this actually was, I didn't think, I had said to Stacy going into this that I really feared that this was really going to be a bloodbath, and I don't think it shook out that way.
Yeah, no, and I think the hosts also took that into account, and I thought the majority of the questions were fairly direct and at the issues, and I think I counted on, one hand, somewhere between 3 and 5 questions that were directly aimed at something a candidate had said about another candidate. So that's a departure from the first 5 debates for sure, where it was almost set up like a cage match to see, who could be brought down the most. I think they did a much better job with the questioning this time and focusing it really on the issues.
Yeah, I have to.
Bachelor number 2, feel free to join the show.
I'm not sure if I'm Bachelor number 2 or Bachelor number 3. I don't remember. But anyway,
you're always my Bachelor number 1, right?
You know what you are? You are old enough to know what I'm referencing, and Daniel doesn't. So put that in your pipe and smoke it there, boys. when Chuck Woolery was all like in the leisure suit.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.
Well, Bachelorette number 1, 2, and 3 are all going home with me, so contestant number 1, go F yourself. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
God, was just getting ready to say that. Holy crap.
You got to be fast on this show.
I got to find the mute button quicker.
So does the audience.
Yeah, I wish we had a mute button for sometimes during the debate when Kasich would talk. Holy crap.
We do. I have this set up at my house. Shut up! I just hit that and that blasts out of every speaker, just wired into every ceiling. Hold on a second, Richard. Richard, you had a point that you were making. What didn't you?
So we're going all formal now, are we? No, all I was going to say is I actually agree. I thought the debate was, while really, really long for some reason, I actually felt like they got a lot more of their points across, and it wasn't so much WWE style. I have to agree that I wanted to shoot my TV on multiple occasions when Kasich spoke, but I refrained. It's a really nice big TV.
This is why you have to get us all a Politabrick, Rick. By the time we actually get them, it's going to be too late.
It's not my fault. They're sending them to me. Complain to them.
You know what was ridiculous? When they had Lindsey Graham get up and ask the question.
3 simple words. I am gay.
It was obscene.
Well, that's called sucking up South Carolina style. They did it a couple times.
Lindsey Graham
Like when Kasich throws out there, when I was on a committee with Strom Thurmond, yeah, there's something to brag about.
Oh Baltimore burning. Black Lives Matter. One of the biggest things out there. They're trying to keep the Obama coalition together. Everybody's afraid that they're not going to get the same percentage of the African-American vote that the Democrats got last time. And John Kasich gave whoever the nominee is the commercial that's going to play in every African-American precinct until now in time. Well, I'd like to speak about when me and Strom Thurmond were doing policy there in the D.C. Them were the good old days. Woo-hoo. I'm like, Jesus Lord.
You should have hit the shotgun blast. It would have fit in perfectly.
Oh, God almighty, man. I mean, that was... I heard that. It was one of the few notes I made. I was like, let me get this straight. You just literally pimped Strom Thurmond. Nice. Daniel.
Yeah. Sorry, you blew my eardrums out with that clown horn. I was sitting over here, me and Carson, we were taking a nap there for a second. So sorry. Yeah, I'm awake now. Is it my turn? It's my turn, so I get to talk, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I had stuff to say. Holy crap. What is Ben Carson's problem? When was he going to wake up and actually join the party? Everybody else was starting to sling it and actually get into some substance. And this was the first debate that we actually got substantive answers instead of the typical read off of a cue card. And I think Carson was hitting that bong you were throwing around earlier because he was just happy-go-lucky high all night long.
Oh, yeah, Ben Carson in the groom room, baby.
Dude, you couldn't even, like, his eyes, you never saw his eyes at all. They were, like, 3/4 closed for the whole debate.
So, Stacey.
Like, when he joked at the beginning of it, oh, thank you for getting to me. You know, I didn't want to have to fall asleep. It looked like he did anyway.
Yeah, but isn't that why this has been his theme song for the whole campaign? He looks like Stevie Wonder and he talks like Michael Jackson. I'd like to thank all the people for showing up at the debate and talk about my tax plan. And then he's had this horrific string of news. He had Super PAC people that would jump in ship going to work for Cruz. He had staffers and his finance executive resigning going to work for Cruz. He had a shakeup before that. And you had all this bad, you know, he had the drop in the polls because it shifted to a foreign policy election after Paris and after San Bernardino, and you could tell he went and studied on it. But, I mean, between the Ambien, he didn't understand the questions, because when he came out of the box and he's like, well, let me talk about war and the whole thing, and then he's like, no, and, you know, the question was really about, you know, basically regions of the world that were in flames currently, and he's like, yes, and war is different now, and cyber hacking, and the electric grid, and Alex Jones, and hold on, my tinfoil hat's over here. I was like, what the hell happened to this guy?
But don't forget, if you can learn so much more if you just go over to bencarson.com.
That was great.
That was epic.
He's really, I mean, seriously, is he the only one that pimps a website during the whole debate tonight?
Maybe tonight, but they do that. I mean, that's now standard operating procedure.
You want to see my policy? Go to .com.
Right,
yeah,
but at least he pimped it.
Well, the whole thing. I mean, with the websites, and I think to Daniel's point is it's making some of the candidates lazy. Make sure you go check out www.mycampaign.ascheeks so that you can go read the policy positions that I can't keep straight in my head that I'm going to F up if I try to babble them out here.
Well, because he's paid somebody so much good money that all of those brain surgeries he's been able to save from, that he's been able to put such good policy together. You've got to have something.
I'd like to thank all the people in the world who showing up to the debate in Carolina and talk about my tax plan.
If you go to bencarson.com.
Oh, God, that's funny, man. That's funny. When are we going to get a Rick and Ticky Tavi Rick Robinson.com?
You guys don't want to know what's on that website, I'm saying.
Rick, I wasn't keeping track of the time. How far in are we right now?
Hang on a second. I don't have it pulled up. But I'm supposed to be like paying attention and stuff. I was over here napping. We're only 15 in, so.
All right, cool. So let's take this one through the break and then on to the other side and get it out of the way, because I thought that there was a lot of good things in the debate to speak about. Let's speak about, and on Stacey and my show, we've been making this. I've been making this point for a while, that I honestly thought that Trump would actually self-immolate when he got in the position of it becoming a tighter race and actually having to focus on a singular opponent that was serious, or basically get involved, having to deal with 3 or 4 different opponents and their super PACs coming at him and self-funding, and he can't help himself because of the way that his personality is. I thought he ended very strong on the economy and China, but I want to go back to what I thought was just a awful, awful, awful moment for him. And that is when Ted Cruz, I was very curious to see how Ted Cruz played both the Goldman Sachs story that was breaking and Donald Trump's lunacy that he's not a natural born citizen and can't run for president. And I thought that the way that Cruz was positioned in the debate to make his points and the way that he made them, I thought they were phenomenal. I thought they did it in his favor, and I thought he diffused them. And I said, I wonder how Trump's going to handle this. And when he just went into, and the polls, and this one's at 0%, you're not good anymore, you're down, all the polls, and the people say, and I just thought that was such an ugly moment, for everybody that, everybody who on social media sees all this Trump support, in that room, you had people that were cheering for Trump and this, that, and the other, but, for these polls to say that he is so far out ahead, even down in a place like South Carolina, I don't know if I buy it, because he was literally booed when he started with that nonsense.
Well, you got to look. You got to look at some of the finer numbers behind that polling too. So when you're looking at national polls and dial-up polls and everything else, one of the things that to me kind of cemented some of what's going on in my assessment of what I'm seeing is that, when Nikki Haley gave her speech, it was not Republicans nor Democrats that gave her bad marks at various points during the speech. So they were polling people by political affiliation while she was talking during the response. The most critical folks of her were the people who classify as independents. And if you think of how the last several years have run, a lot of people have scrapped their political affiliation because they're not happy with how far the left has gone left, and they're not happy with the way the GOP has delivered. So I'm almost beginning to think, based on some of the polling I've seen, along with what I saw the trends do during Nikki Haley's speech, especially around the stuff around immigration, that a lot of his support's actually coming from people who are declared as independents and can't vote in the primary.
Right, but I don't want to focus on Nikki Haley. I want to focus on tonight, and I want to focus on that one singular moment that I thought that was bad. Rick, how did you see that moment in the debate for Trump and for the debate itself?
Well, I have to tell you, overall, and I've said this before, my impression of Trump has gone completely downhill from the moment that he's actually entered the race. And tonight, the easiest way that I could sum him up as far as his behavior and his actions, Joe Pesci from Lethal Weapon.
They F you at the drive you, you got the phone, you get all the way there, and you gotta go back. Yeah, but no, I thought it was, I thought it was an ugly moment for him. I thought it was an ugly moment for the debate. Daniel, we got about 2-3 minutes left. What was your take on that moment with Trump?
Well, with Trump, the thing to remember is the guy is a complete ass clown. Anytime he can make himself look good, he will pounce all over it. And this was one of those times that he melted under the pressure. Cruz was finally able to bring out those cruise missiles and drop bombs on his punk ass because Trump wanted to bring this fight to him for twofold. One, because in the end, Trump can actually come out and say, see, I brought this up. We've made it a non-issue now. Or he can come out and say, look, I took him down. I've proved to you that he can't do it. And this is me. Look at me. Go to DonaldTrump.com and look more at me. This guy.
Ask if this is the guy who asked if he could curse before the show started, like it was shocking.
Hey, will you stop? Ask it's not a curse. Ask.
Okay, but remember, I want to go back to something that was a JD was touching on this about the polls. Okay, at the very, very start of this race, when Donald Trump got out there and one of these stupid, ignorant 4-hour speeches where the hairpiece got out there and decided to bloviate, what did he say? They talk about these polls. I don't care about polls. Polls mean nothing. Ever since then, the only thing he's cared about is sliding up and down the polls quicker than Bill Clinton. Go ahead.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.
I think that's a great place to leave Trump sliding up and down the polls, baby. We don't want to be getting all here on that K98 talk. Getting all weird with that Donald Trump and his triple hair, baby. JD, Stacy, Ricky Tikki, Tavi, Rick Robinson, that host of America Off the Rails. You can find him 5 nights a week, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard, baby, doing the work of Lord of the Lord Jesus. We got Daniel Stafford of the Head, Stafford Voice, the Heads in the Radio Freezer Radio, baby. You'll hear what, Monday at, Monday 10 or Monday 8, Daniel?
9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern.
10 Eastern on Monday, and he follows us Thursday night here now on that K98 Talk. The station getting so big, David Lee Roth got to have a piece of it. He's going to take us out to break.
One break coming up.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get sad again.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
All right, guys, we're ready for our Four Seasons sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait, a family hub.
Yeah! No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. And no, I am not JD. Either the NSA found us or we've got a connection issue. I am still here with Stacy and Daniel. I do believe we're still on the line with us. At this point, we're going to go ahead and turn things over to Stacy, who had been the one intended to run this next segment anyway. So, Stacy, this one I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you so I can see if I can track down what's going on with JD.
Okay, perfect. Well, so, Daniel, if you had to assess this evening, who do you think really helped themselves in the 6th GOP debate?
Obviously, I would say Cruz helped himself. I think he really hammered and nailed down the whole citizenship crap that he's been thrown under the bus with. I think Trump kind of, he blows his own horn. I think Rubio will pick up a little bit, but the rest of the crew, why are they even there?
Okay. I actually, I don't know what you think, Rick, but I actually think Christie kind of did himself a couple favors tonight. I find myself hating Christie less than I used to. I used to mock him almost as endlessly as I mocked Jeb Bush. And I think with some of what I've heard from him, and I'm not a Christie supporter by any stretch of the mark, but I'm feeling more comfortable that if he does well in some of these primaries and becomes the nominee, I could actually support him.
No, I agree. And much like you, I have mocked Christie basically since day one. I was the one...
Time to make the donuts.
Well, that, you can't have a president who can be bribed by Congress with Krispy Kremes. But yeah. Here's the thing. He's the one that keeps coming out swinging. He's the one that's actually talking to the people instead of trying to tell everybody how much better than everybody else that he is. And it's starting to resonate with me. As painful as that is to say, and I'm just being truthful, you guys can go back and listen to my shows. You can listen to the shows that we've done together. I have never been a Christie fan. I have to say, he's starting to sway me. I'm not sure if that's because I'm getting older or if it's just because he's actually doing a really good job of getting his point across.
We're getting tired. No.
Probably.
No, but seriously, there's something that JD will usually say about Christie, at least, that he raises the level of debate and he challenges the other guys like Cruz, like Rubio, to be better debaters because he is so plain speaking. But he is doing, I think, a pretty good job of articulating the progress he's made towards more conservative values in New Jersey. I mean, anybody who knows anything about New Jersey, he is a Republican governor in a very liberal state. So I don't know, I think there was an article earlier this week kind of quoted as saying, you probably, is he as conservative as maybe we would like him to be? No. Is he more conservative than his governance of New Jersey may appear? I believe so at this point. I mean, there's a limited amount of progress you're going to make in New Jersey, similar to there's a limited amount of progress as a Republican governor you're going to make in a state like New York. You do have to work with your state legislatures to, find some middle and common ground. You are the governor of all the people of the state of New Jersey.
Well,
no, and I think that's what he does really well.
Rick touched on something real quick that it's the way that that he talks to the people. He is really the only one that has done that, and it's like he's sitting across the kitchen table from you and you're talking one-on-one with Christie. That's the one thing that I've picked up on over the last few debates with him is he's actually engaging you one-on-one, and I don't think any of the other candidates have been able to do that the way that Christie has been able to do. So I do have to give him kudos for that, because that's the one thing that really keeps him on the back of the radar, which is the way he is constantly engaging you one-on-one and not engaging the crowd and the back and forth.
Well, and I think what I have noticed, and I do think Cruz did himself some positive and also some negatives tonight. I think he's going to get trashed for the New York City culture thing. We all know, if we don't live inside a liberal enclave, what he was talking about. And I think Trump's response didn't directly address Cruz's criticism. Evoking 9/11 is a very emotional thing. And having lived in the state when that happened and had many friends down in the city, I didn't experience it like my co-host did, but it still hit very, very close to home. And I think when you see a tragedy like that, just when you saw the tragedy in Charleston, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican at that point. Somebody has done something to your hometown where you live. Yes, people come together. I don't think Cruz was saying New Yorkers were bad people. He was saying, on the main and on the whole, New York as a social temperature, if you will, tends to run very liberal. So as a Republican in New York City, you may end up being more liberal than the average conservative in other places of the country. I don't think he's misarticulating that, but I still think he's going to take, kind of a beating for it. But the other piece that I think he did really well was the birther issue. And I mean, he basically made Donald Trump admit, yeah, I just really started talking about this because he was coming up in the polls. I thought that was the trashiest comment of the entire debate.
Yes. But let me go back to the whole 9/11 thing. The 9/11 thing for me was bad for Trump. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at that not being a negative for Cruz, because exactly what you had said. There's not a lot of hardcore conservatives that really stand out in a liberal area like New York. I mean, you look at New York and that's what you think. You think liberal. Donald Trump was playing the empathy card, where it's, okay, well, what are these people thinking, seeing, saying, feeling, and hearing? So how can I touch one of those feelings and one of those senses in order to capture an audience and capture somebody's, whether it's their emotions or I want to be able to connect with them somehow and relate to them in that sense. And that's how I took it as a negative with Trump, was because he was trying to play the empathy card. And I think he took it a little far with the whole shame on you type thing, because 9/11 was huge, and go to Trump.com and I'll show you how bad it was. And look, spare me. 9/11 is over. It was as tragic as it was. What we need to realize is we've got to move forward, and we can't do that if we continue to keep bringing it up and using it as a toy. It's not a toy.
No, it's not a toy. But I mean, I think at the same time, it is something that in the current environment, a lot of Americans are going back to as a touch point, if you will, with some of the fears and the rise of ISIS, which has certainly been much more in the public purview than the rise of Al-Qaeda was. For those of you who didn't have a finger on the pulse of foreign policy and U.S. intelligence, 9/11 came as kind of a shock. I was a mom with 3 little kids. I wasn't watching Fox News all the time. But I don't have a problem discussing it. I think the discussion tonight was misplaced. Cruz had specifically brought up an interview that that Trump did, where he had articulated fairly liberal views with a TV commentator whose name I now is escaping me because it's late, but and Trump didn't address any of those things. And I think the real point was that Cruz's assertion was he was stating he had certain closely held personal beliefs during the course of this campaign that maybe he hadn't really had in the past, and Trump never answered that.
Well, and the thing also is, I think that was a real subtle, silent way that Ted Cruz has been able to. I'm going to say it as though he's getting away with it, because I don't think a lot of people are picking up on the way he uses sarcasm and the way he jokes. Is when Ted Cruz made that, well, I don't see a lot of conservatives coming out of liberal New York comment, is basically throwing it back in Trump's face when Trump said, well, you don't see a lot of Christians coming out of Cuba or whatever the whole statement was. But he threw it right back at Trump, and Trump lost it.
Well, no, he just never directly answered the question, and that would be somewhat typical, I suppose. But with all that, who do you think basically, kind of torpedoed their campaign tonight?
Ben Carson. I mean, he was over going into tonight. If in reality, you have to admit, Carson was pretty much over. I mean, and that kind of sadly broke for him just a few hours before the debate even started. What was it? His finance chief or something like that left the campaign. But I think it was Ben Carson. Ben Carson really solidified his exit strategy in tonight. Was, pay attention to my website, because here in about a week, I'm going to post up there that I'm super excited and thank you for all your support. And I'm sorry we weren't able to do this. It's time that he needs to go. He's just not fit for the job. I don't think he's ready.
Well, and I certainly think the pivot towards foreign policy kind of solidified that. He makes a good point, and I've heard some other folks make the very good point that, had we had television, Abraham Lincoln would probably never have been elected because he was very cerebral.
That's true.
But we do have television, and you do have to make people believe what you're saying, and I don't know that he's doing that in terms of foreign policy.
Right. What about Rick?
Actually, I think, I agree. I'm pretty sure Carson's about done. If he's not, he ought to be. I think another one who basically shot himself in the foot tonight would be Rand Paul. Basically with his petulant decision that, because I can't be at the big boy table, I'm just not going to show up at all. Not that he wasn't already on the way out the door based on his numbers, but he pretty much solidified it for me based on that decision and the fact that he basically just said, hey, I'm too good to be at the little kids' table, so F it.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a good move on his part at all. I will say, having watched a fair amount of the first debate, good discussion. Once again, I think Carly Fiorina was the best on that stage. She actually got way more policy specific, than she has traditionally. So I'm sorry people missed that. But at the same time, she went and she articulated her views, and she did what, she had also, and so had Huckabee come off the main stage. So I think, there's a certain amount of responsibility, or if you want to talk class even, that if that happens, okay, you're still going to make your appearance, you're still going to state your policy positions and your views, and you're going to hope that by listening, more people will engage with you. So I think he really made a significant misstep there.
And it's
Who
not
do you
just,
think is just going to kind of stay where they are?
I think Kasich's too damn stubborn to go anywhere. But I'm confused because wasn't there already an announcement that supposedly he was shutting down his campaign a couple of weeks ago, or was that just wishful thinking? Because I could have
I
swore
think you
they
had
made
a
an
dream,
announcement.
Rick, and you woke up all excited. No, I have not heard that Kasich is suspending his campaign.
Yeah, maybe it was just me getting excited. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think Yelly's going to be around for a while. Except he was a lot less Yelly tonight, so I don't know what was up with all that.
Carson and Kasich were sharing the bowl before the debate. I'm just saying.
Is that what it was?
Gotta
I mean,
be.
I personally don't think Rubio did anything to really help himself.
He seemed really angry tonight, and I don't know if that's the stance that he wants to take.
I think he was sort of trying to position himself in the wake of what happened with Iran and San Bernardino as frustrated with the current administration and somewhat disgusted. I think it came off maybe not as he intended. But I'm not 100% sure. I don't know that he hurt himself tonight, but I don't think he really helped.
He came across to me as like...
It seemed like the crowd really liked a lot of what he had to say. He got some pretty loud applause.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Anger seems to be the theme of the crowd lately, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. When I see him talk and that little vein pops out on the side of his head, he comes across as grandma's boy that he couldn't go outside and play with his friends. And now he wants to pout, and he's gonna talk for a few minutes. He's gonna raise his voice, and he's gonna get really angry, and he's gonna slow it down a little bit, and then he's just gonna, I'm done, in like a mic drop moment, and kind of fake you out. He comes across as grandma's boy, like he's grandma's favorite. I can't quite figure out Rubio just yet.
I don't think anybody can. I mean, because he's just, I don't know. Like I said, it just seems like he's had a complete and total shift in his behavior between this debate and the last one.
It's like organized chaos.
Well, let's face it, with that many people on two separate stages, the whole thing's been organized chaos since day one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think Rubio has a bad message or a wrong message. I like listening to him on foreign policy. I think despite every effort he has made to convince people, and I don't necessarily not believe him, that he has changed his perspective on immigration, people aren't really hearing it with Trump's bombast and Cruz's continual poking on it. I think on the whole, he has some really good ideas. I've heard him speak on education. I've heard him speak on tech policy. I think he's probably one of the best I've heard on both of those fronts. But I don't know that he'll ever be able to 100% shake that Gang of 8 bill in the current environment. I think in other election years it might have been possible. I just think people are so angry and so gravitating towards the more angry rhetoric around those two issues that he's just not going to be able to do it.
Well, and people are they're frustrated. It's frustration turning into anger. So many people are frustrated right now with the way things are happening. And to bring up the whole Gang of 8 thing, the Gang of 8 thing is the people that have really paid attention. For those that haven't really been paying attention, like over the weekend, we learned about Rubio down in Florida pushing the whole idea that he wanted to give in-state tuition to undocumented immigrants, to illegals. He wanted to give in-state tuition. I'm all for these people getting an education, but they really do need to take a back seat, and we need to focus on Americans. We cannot play partisan politics that way. We can't do it. America as a whole is tired of it. When people are over here drowning in debt, working 2 or 3 jobs, and watching somebody over here that came here illegally, is getting a free education, has the opportunity to afford a house, afford a car, and they're not working for it, and they're getting minimal cost education at a university, it ticks people off, and that frustration then turns into anger. And I think that's where the pulse is, and that's why people have yet to really get behind Rubio, because he does say a handful of things that people agree with and will agree with, but he's got to catch up, and the people just aren't catching on to him.
Did I lose everybody again? It's got really quiet.
No, we're here, Rick. I'm here, Rick.
No, I had to cough, so I apologize. I went on mute. Anyway, basically, if you read some of the press now talking about the overall election, you guys know as well as I know, national polls don't mean bunk. We elect a president via the Electoral College. That's not going to change before the 2016 election. And, really, at this point, according to a lot of the polling, when you look at anyone v. Clinton, should she be the nominee and not go to jail, which would be my preference, it's really going to come down to the independent vote in about 5 key swing states.
So wait, is your preference that she go to jail or she be the nominee?
Huh?
Did you say your preference was that she go to jail or that she be the nominee?
No, that she go to jail.
Okay, well, that's my preference, too. I was just making sure.
I'm hopeful she's going to be indicted. I keep hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. I think it's going to be an interesting predicament if that happens for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who really just, they need a new chair of the DNC so badly it's not funny. But, when you're looking at the polling candidates versus Hillary Clinton, I mean, this thing really is going to come down to independents in a couple of key states like Colorado, like Florida, like Ohio. That's where we're going to see the difference made in the general election. I look at these national polls and I guess they make a really nice meme for supporters of certain candidates, but that's not the way it breaks down in the states that are going to win or lose this election. And then I get accused of being establishment GOP, and that's what they said about Romney, and that's what they said about McCain. But still holds true in terms of how we do actually elect the president. So,
I mean, I don't understand how, because we want a rational candidate who can articulate ideas without sounding like a raving lunatic, that all of a sudden we're establishment.
Well, the fact that for months we saw all this Trump Cruz 216, and now the people that support Trump are all rabidly on this birther thing. I mean, Ann Coulter's tweets, consistency is important, lady, and you said something completely different 6 months ago.
She's a vile human being. I'm just going to throw that out there. She's vile. I think he's paying her.
And she does it for money, and
she's a ratings whore.
Perfect. His platform has aligned perfectly with the book she's just written. She has an agenda all her own.
She's a ratings
whore. As vocal and vociferous as she is, and hey, it works. She gets plenty of media. Her book is selling. So I mean, everything she says, I do take with somewhat a grain of salt.
I take it with a salt lick. Does that count?
Huh?
I take it with a salt lick. Does that count?
Oh, God. Anyway, but,
wow.
I actually am somewhat entertained by the folks who have grabbed that establishment label and just mocked it. First of all, you have to define that for me. Because basically, if you don't agree with everything Donald Trump says, you are now the establishment.
Well, if that makes me establishment, then somebody buy me a T-shirt and give me a bumper sticker, because I can't do it.
Yeah, I keep telling Rick Wilson I want a T-shirt that says Team Wilson, or at very least a coffee mug.
Now, hang on just a second, because this goes along with the whole establishment thing, and this was something that that Fiorina touched on during during the first debate. She said, and I'm going to quote this, Hillary Clinton sits inside government, rakes in millions, and now accessing favors. And Donald Trump sits outside government and rakes in billions, buying people like Hillary Clinton. Unreal.
I know.
That's the argument for establishment.
He is the ultimate insider, and that's what the majority of his supporters don't want to see. I did not catch the answer. Did either one of you catch the answer when Maria asked him if he would put his business holdings in a trust should he win the nomination or the election?
I don't think he really did.
She had a very good question in terms of what he was going to do with his substantial wealth and the governance of his company should he be the successful candidate.
He skirted the issue like he does every question that's tossed his way. He said, "Look over there, but I'm going to be over here." He said, "No, my boys and my wife are going to run the business. I'm going to run America. I want to make America great again." He never answers a question. Never.
No.
He doesn't have to, though. I mean, he's proven that over and over again. He doesn't have to give anybody any answers because they don't care what he has to say. The only thing they care is who he's going to attack next and how he's going to make the Republicans look foolish. Because that's what everybody's in this to see now at this point.
Yeah. Waiting for the train wreck to happen.
All right, so it looks like we're going to have to take a really quick break, folks, just to tie up some loose ends. When we come back, we've got one more quick segment. I think, Stacey, you wanted to go around the panel and ask a question. We'll do that when we get back, but we need to go ahead and take one last break. We'll be right back, folks, here in just a minute.
All right, guys, we're ready for our Four Seasons sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her.
All right, guys, we're ready for our Four Seasons sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait, a family hub.
Yeah! No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
4 reasons for 4 seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
Technical issues abound, folks. We're back. We're live. This is Game On with JD and Stacey. And no, I'm not JD. I'm going to turn things back over to the actual co-host. Hey, Stacey, you can have it again.
Hey, thank you, Rick. Well, we always like to round out our post-debate shows with a question that maybe makes people laugh and giggle a little bit. So tonight's question, Rick and Daniel, is if the following candidate does not get the GOP nomination, what company should they become a spokesperson for? What company or product? Ready?
Ready.
All right. So let's start with the folks on the main stage that we think may need to go bye-bye after tonight. So how about John Kasich?
Viagra.
Daniel.
Dang, I should have went first. That was my answer.
And we've got a full house for Viagra. All right. Awesome. So what do you think about Ben Carson?
I don't know if
Toothpicks.
I'm sorry,
What
what?
did you say?
Toothpicks.
Toothpicks.
So
okay,
a
so he's
spokesman
going to
for
start
toothpicks.
hawking toothpicks. Awesome. Rick?
Headmaster for Helen Keller School of the Blind? I don't know.
Oh, my God. I was thinking he should start hawking that stuff that you see in the gas station that's a little bottle of energy or no-dose or something like that.
See, I don't know,
like
though.
He needs to start taking it, and then he could start selling it.
I was going to say, he'd have to take it before he could be a good spokesman for it, because if he held up the bottle the way he looked tonight, they'd be like, I'm never taking that.
Here I was before I started taking no-dose, and here I was after. See? All right.
And if you go to bencarson.com, you can read his testimonial.
There you go. What about, let's see, Jeb Bush?
Weight Watchers?
Daniel's obviously entertaining himself and wants to keep it all to himself.
He was probably trying to figure out a way to say it appropriately.
Oh, is that what the problem was?
He needs to be a spokesman for Trojan because nobody wants another Bush.
Wait, wouldn't that make him a good...
It's going to make me start coughing. Oh, my God.
Wouldn't that be a good... Well, along Daniel's same lines for a good ad, he could be like the new Gillette commercial guy because nobody needs any more Bush.
That's very true. I like that.
Wow. Okay, then. Chris Christie.
Donuts.
Same general concept, but Hostess.
Hostess, like Hostess cupcakes and
yeah,
things.
the snack cake company.
Nice. If we go to the bottom debate, what about Rick Santorum?
I don't know with him.
I personally think he should start like his own PTL TV show or something like that.
I didn't think about that.
Like TV Preacher.
Yeah, I would have thought that more.
I was thinking of a cosmetic line.
A cosmetic line? He is very, very, very carefully coiffed, isn't he?
Yeah.
I have to say, though, because I was watching Fox Business News before the debate, whoever did Lou Dobbs' makeup tonight should be shot. His nose was like a completely different color from the rest of his face. I'm serious. Random, I know, but I'm like looking at it going, who did his makeup? They should be shot. Mike Huckabee.
Walkers.
Walkers?
Life alert.
I don't know. He looks pretty healthy to me. He looks a lot more healthy than the Democratic nominees.
Well, that's true. I mean, but, somebody like Bernie Sanders would be out pushing those little go-kart things like you see at the grocery store.
What about you, Rick?
For Huckabee, Walmart. No, that wouldn't work. I was thinking of something else, but now I completely lost my train of thought. Sorry. You guys got me thinking about Hillary Clinton probably being a good spokesman for Life Alert, but yeah.
Depends. Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I lost my train of thought.
All right. That train has left the station. Carly,
I think what Rick is saying is, I think what Rick was saying is he's been thinking he's got Hillary Clinton on his mind.
No, not exactly.
Ew. How are you ever going to go to sleep?
Thanks to Daniel, now I won't be.
Downers.
Oh, cool. You're on the JD plan. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
So you had,
I'm kidding.
Who was the next one? You threw out Hoog?
Carly Fiorina.
CEO of Southwest Airlines, only because I hate them now, and she pretty much kills every company she touches.
Oh, stop it. I love Southwest Airlines. What's wrong with you?
You never worked for them.
Oh, I never worked for them, but I flew them, and I was a very happy customer until they changed their frequent flyer program. That sucked.
Yeah, I started working there right as they changed the program.
Now to kind of the folks back over on the main stage, what, and I'll use JD since he left us in anger, what would Ted Cruz make an excellent spokesperson for?
Custom Kydex holsters from Rebel Road Tactical.
Excellent.
Nice job.
Woo-hoo!
I'm
going to say
way to
Count
tie in a sponsor.
Chocula cereal for obvious reasons if you're a regular listener of the show. JD is convinced Ted Cruz looks just like Count Chocula.
Actually, I have to agree with JD.
Yeah, I know.
He does look a lot
gotta
like
lose that
Count
little
Chocula.
widow's peak something.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Daniel's not amused.
Are you kidding?
All
Daniel's
right, how
always
about
amused.
Marco Rubio?
Teeth whitening strips.
It doesn't. I'm sorry. I don't care what you have to say about his politics. He still has the best smile in the Republican field. It actually looks genuine. Everyone else looks like they're trying too hard, except Ben Carson. But then you can't see his eyes.
Right.
Right.
A spokesman for whoever gives him his platform boots.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's got to become the spokesperson for some slick hip shoe company. Did you see that dumb ad that Jeb's campaign made?
Wait, have they done a good one yet?
No.
They did an ad based on those frickin' boots, and they had some guy boogieing wearing heeled boots. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But anyway, and finally, what company should Donald Trump become spokesperson for should he not get the Republican nomination?
Just for men.
I was actually
Just for
thinking
men?
Rogaine.
I was thinking, yeah, anything that had to do with either toupees or hair plugs. It's time to end the comb over.
Yeah.
It's got to go.
Definitely. All right. So we know they can all be gainfully employed at the end of this. If you had to pick, who won tonight's debate, Daniel?
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz?
Yep.
See, this is painful to say, but in my opinion, I think Christie actually came out on top tonight with Cruz as a close second.
Well, that's interesting because I put Christie and Cruz at a dead tie. And it pains me to say that. Pains me to say that.
I just think Christie got in a couple of really good shots and was able to take questions that nobody else was wanting to even touch and bring them back around to what the moderators were actually asking about, which is why I gave him a slight edge over Cruz.
Yeah, one of the best parts was when he looked over at, who was that? When he looked over at Rubio and said that you had your chance or something like that. That was an excellent line.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, with that, lots of interesting news, I'm sure, and analysis tomorrow, which we'll cover over the next several days. Probably a big portion of Sunday's show for those of you who are regular listeners. And I'm sure Rick will have more to say on the subject tomorrow night at 11. Ha, 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 ha. I do not know how you do an 11 p.m. Eastern show on a Friday. I really don't.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
It's not as easy as it sounds. Yes. I imagine so, because if I was your wife, I'd kill you.
Yeah, that's why she's on the other side of the house right now with the door closed.
I see. And what's coming up with you, Daniel?
Well, on Monday, we're talking, I'm going to have Army John. I think most everybody knows him over on the Twitters, at Army John. He's coming back on the show, and we are going to dig so far deep into this Iran thing with them taking some U.S. sailors. It's going to be a good show.
Yeah, I kind of liked how Cruz opened the debate with that today.
Agreed.
Pretty much a shot over the bow. Very disturbing video. Very, very, very ugly propaganda for Iran. And we're still going to write him a $150 billion check.
Yep.
So I'm taking it, since you're both still broadcasting, neither one of you won the Powerball.
Even if I had, I'd still be broadcasting, but no, I'm not a millionaire, sadly.
You'd just be broadcasting from a completely different station.
Oh, no, I'd build my own with that kind of money.
Oh, you'd build your own. Now I see. We'd all be buying time on WABC, right?
Pretty much.
There you go. Anyway, well, it was a pleasure having you both on this evening. Thank you for staying up well past my bedtime with the influenza I have picked up over the last several days. So I apologize for both my voice and my frequent stays on the mute button so you didn't have to hear me. And at this point, I don't know, Rick, I think we've done a pretty good job covering.
Yeah, this is normally when JD tosses you the keys and you start a car, but since he's not here, we're just going to have to close out the show. No.
We have no way to end the show?
He took the keys with him. I can't start it. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this particular episode.
Where can the folks find you on social media?
You get two different places. Find me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice, or you can look me up on the Facebooks. All you got to do is just do a simple search for the Stafford Voice.
Nice. And Rick, where do they find you?
AOTR_host on the Twitter, and you can find me on Rowdy Ricky Robinson on Facebook. Just run a search.
And
I'll pull up. We can be friends.
You can always find me on At Scott's Fire, Stacey Lennox on Facebook. And with that, thank you so very much for staying up late with us tonight and joining us in our post-debate. And we will see you next week at our regularly scheduled times, Sunday morning at 11 a.m., Tuesday and Thursdays at 9 p.m., and 5 p.m. on Fridays on WNJC.
Have a great night, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us.